Omar, let's go.
Okay. Alhamdulillah. والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه من سار سبيله إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. So tonight inshallah ta'ala we'll be continuing discussing our program, our lesson that we discussed the book Mukhtasar Sahih Bukhari by Zabidi rahimahullah ta'ala. And in the last lesson that we had we had begun the discussion regarding Kitab al-Mawaqit as-Salat wa Fadli, that discussing matters relating to the virtue and regarding the timing of Salat and also the virtue of Salat. So today inshallah ta'ala, tonight we pick up from where we had stopped regarding the last lesson and discuss some of the hadith that the author have mentioned in this particular chapter. أيوة.
هذا المصلي يناجي ربه يناجي ربه.
وش hadith we had stopped? فضل الصلاة
فضل الصلاة
لوقتها.
نعم
قرأت؟
أظن دقيقة. لا
No.
هذا هو
Okay.
نعم. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. قال مؤلف رحمه الله. Chapter 3, the superiority of praying, offering the salah at the stated times. Hadith 329, narrated by Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu. I asked the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, which deed is the dearest to Allah? He replied, to offer the salah at their early stated fixed times. I asked, what is the next in goodness? He replied, to be good and dutiful to your parents. I again asked, what is the next in goodness? He replied, to participate in jihad, religious fighting in Allah's cause. Abdullah added, these were told by Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and if I had asked more, he would have told me more.
So the author ta'ala, he mentioned in this chapter Bab Fadl Salat wa Waqtiha, that the virtue of Salat and also the virtue of its time. So he mentioned this hadith, the hadith of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, as stated here regarding the Prophet ﷺ, that he was asked regarding several matters. So the Prophet ﷺ, that he was asked several matters, and they are mentioned regarding the narrator that he mentioned, سمعت أبو عمر الشيباني يقول حدثنا صاحب هذا دار أو صاحب هذه الدار, and he meant concerning وأشار إلى دار عبد الله يعني ibn Mas'ud. So you find that in most of the narration of the Prophet ﷺ hadith that when they mention Abdullah among the Sahaba, then the person that is intended is Ibn Mas'ud. So Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, when he's at times they mentioned just as Abdullah, then he mentioned that سألت النبي عليه السلام أي عمل أحب إلى الله. Then he went on to ask regarding that, he went on to question the Prophet ﷺ regarding certain matters. So he asked from this narration 3 matters that he mentioned. The first regarding asking regarding أي عمل أحب إلى الله, that which act is most beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are mentioned here in some of the explanations that you'll find that in some of the narration of hadith, as we mentioned in this particular narration, Imam Bukhari mentioned which actions or which act is most beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then they have mentioned regarding that in some narration of the hadith or different wording of the hadith, where in the wording of Ibn Khuzaymah, also Ibn Hibban wal Hakim. So there's a wording in Ibn Khuzaymah, Ibn Hibban and Hakim, where they mentioned in their wording أي عمل أفضل. So in their narration of the hadith, it mentioned أي عمل أفضل, which act is most virtuous, which act is most virtuous or of superiority. So they mentioned that the difference regarding concerning, so in some narration kind of somewhat explained regarding, they're asking regarding of those acts that are most beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or in other narration those acts that are most virtuous in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they mentioned Ibn Khuzaymah, Ibn Hibban wal Hakim. These also of these 3 books that are mentioned, Ibn Khuzaymah, Ibn Hibban and Hakim, that also those 3 in particular, that they have their collection, their work is regarding a hadith that are said to be also Saheeh. So Ibn Khuzaymah, Ibn Hibban and also Al-Hakim, of those of the collectors of hadith who have compiled a hadith, that also they have stipulated that the hadith that they collect in their collection, that they are also authentic. As in the case of Bukhari and Muslim, even though these particular 3 didn't per se reach the same standard or position of Bukhari Muslim, but they stipulate this as their condition. So as for the hadith, it mentioned regarding of the Prophet ﷺ responding to that in the hadith, that it mentioned that also in the narration here, that is the hadith, it says concerning the Prophet ﷺ, he respond by saying, as-salatu ala waqtiha. As-salatu ala waqtiha. The narration that we have just mentioned in the Ibn Khuzaymah, Ibn Hibban and Hakim, that the Prophet ﷺ, his response was as-salat fi awwal waqtiha. As-salat fi awwali waqtiha. So one narration mentioned the Prophet ﷺ, the narration in Bukhari as we just read, that mentioned as-salat ala waqtiha, that the salat to be prayed in its time. So salat to be prayed according to the time that has been given to that salat. So that's considered that is much more a broad, where a person try to pray the salat in the time that has been allotted for that salat. Then as for the second narration in the Ibn Khuzaymah, Ibn Hibban, and also Hakim, where it mentioned as-salatu fi awwali waqtiha, that the salat to be given in its earliest time. So it's kind of somewhat so, the first one is more general, and the second, which more specific regarding that the virtue of the salat is it being given in its earliest time. And that applies to as-salat here, it applies to all the salawat. So all the salat, that what is more virtuous, that what is more recommended, is that the salat to be prayed in its earliest time. That's the second narration. And for the narration here, that is mentioned by Imam Bukhari, alayhi rahmatullahi ta'ala, and also that narration in the Sahih Muslim that is mentioned here, that he mentioned as-salatu fi waqtiha, as-salat ala waqtiha, salat, that it should be done ala waqtiha, it should be done within the time that has been allotted for the salat. So for each salat, so it shows regarding each salat, it has an allotted time that one should offer that salat, so the person should offer the salat within that time. Then it mentioned thumma qal, thumma, then he asks again concerns, then which comes next? Then it mentioned thumma bir al-walidain. So the first hadith they mentioned, it shows the first they mentioned the virtue of salat, and that salat should be offered in its proper timing. So the person should not be neglectful regarding his salat, and try to offer the salat in the time that has been allotted to it, and each salat as their own fixed timing. Then as for the second that had been mentioned, so that shows the excellence of praying the salat in its time, and also in other narration that even better that a person offer the salat in its earliest time. Then it mentioned that thumma then the person, the narrator who's Ibn Mas'ud, he asks thumma then what comes next? Then the Prophet ﷺ mentioned thumma bir al-walidain. It mentioned al-bir al-walidain. So they mentioned next in line of those virtuous deeds, those deeds are with Allah that are excellent or most beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the person, as they mentioned here, bir al-walidain. So bir al-walidain, so the person being good towards his parents, that so the hadith mentioned that the virtue that of the person being good towards his parents, and we discussed that further. So Ibn Malakhin in his explanation when he discussed this particular matter, that he mentioned regarding even the first matter regarding concern they mentioned ta'zim al-bir al-walidain, that it shows regarding that of giving importance in the person being good towards their parents, so showing the excellence of being good towards one parent, which is both mother and father. Then the Prophet ﷺ, that he went asked regarding the third matter based upon the hadith that is mentioned here, as he mentioned by stating thumma where the person again asked another follow-up question. Then the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned al-jihadu fi sabilillah, al-jihadu fi sabilillah, that a person offering jihad in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So jihad concerned al-qital. So jihad, when it is generally used, that means al-qital. So a jihad, it means al-qital, yani a'da al-Islam, the person going against the enemies of Islam, fi sabilillah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these are the things that the Prophet that he mentioned as being of those things that are said to be either recommend, and there's others, but these are the ones that are mentioned in this particular hadith. So overall, Ibn Malakhin, in his explanation of this particular hadith, that of the points that he mentioned regarding concerning that the point he mentioned that al-murad huna bil-amal, amal al-badan wal-jawarih, that what is intended by they ask concerning, where they ask concerning when they ask concerning ayu amal ahab ila Allah, which acts or which action is most beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the action that are being what is intended by amal, actions here or act here, they mean by concern action that require the person to do it with his limbs, with his body limbs. So physical actions. So action that a person can do with his physical action. This is what is intended by the question that's being asked. Then I mentioned also regarding of the benefits that can be taken from the hadith. I mentioned فيه فضيلة يعني الصلاة في أول وقتها في أول وقت, that salat, that also a salat, that overall it is intended for the person to pray the salat within his time, and also they should show that the person that it is considered to be something which is disliked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for a person to pray outside his time. So the salat is intended to be prayed within the time that have been fixed or allotted for the salat. As for praying after the salat is timing or before, then that's something which is despised, this is disliked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then also he mentioned, also he showed the virtue, that is something we consider to be a virtue for the person to pray the salat within its time. And also even better yet, the person praying the salat, it's in its earliest time, praying the salat in its earliest time. So the mention concerns that this hadith is general. Then you have certain cases where you find that a certain hadith that may come regarding that delaying certain particular salat. But this hadith is in general that a person try to pray the salat in its earliest time, but also you have some cases where it's allowed for the person to delay the salat. So it's allowed, even the Prophet, even Salatul Isha, that he will pray salat still in its earliest time because of the Jama'ah. Even though he can somewhat mention about delaying the salah, but as for the standard practice in establishing the Jama'ah, that it will be done in its more earlier time, not later. So they mentioned regarding concerning that so as mentioned that there may be other texts that permits one to delay the salat. There's other hadith that allows one to delay particular salawat. Then also the benefit they mentioned regarding concerning that this particular hadith, that it shows that these acts are beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That these acts that are beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so it shows that actions also on different degrees and levels. So acts, righteous deeds, that they are different levels. That some more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So all are beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but some more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it shows that righteous deeds on different level, and also for the person trying to identify and have and be aware of those that are said to be more virtuous acts, knowing that which is more virtuous with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then I mentioned that the person that they asked this question so as to know concerning what are said to be beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so it can serve as a motivation for the person to carry out these acts. So the question is being asked so as the person can identify those acts that are more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but also for it to serve as a motivation for the person to carry them out. So not just just asking information for the sake of information, but asking information so as the person can act according to the information. Then also he mentioned of the benefit that can be taken, ta'zeem al-bir al-walidain, haythu qaddamahu ala al-jihad. That also he mentioned that it showed that the importance of al-bir al-walidain, where it precede that of jihad fi sabilillah. So the person being good towards his parents, that this is considered to be also very virtuous deeds, where it proceed the person as sacrificing his own life in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, jihad fi sabilillah. So it shows the high status of al-bir al-walidain. When I mentioned that al-bir al-walidain, that for the person to do opposite, which is uquq al-walidain, the person somewhat to be disobedient and also to be ungrateful and also to mistreat their parents. This is al-uquq. So I mentioned that al-bir is opposite this. So al-bir, it will involve that a person ihsan ilayhima, that a person that he tries to be good towards his parents. Fail al-jamil ma'uma, do things that are good towards his parents. So doing anything which is considered to be pleasant act for his parents, thing that they would welcome. and also to make things easy for his parents. So making things easier for one parents, then it also is considered to be of bir al-walidain. And also even that is ومنه is that al-ihsan ila صديقهما, that also for a person to be good towards their friends. So they are like close companions. So if one knows of the close companions of one's parents, one mother, one father, we said, they are best friends, they are good friends, that they respect, then also for you to be good towards those people, because their people are beloved and dear to your parents. So you should also treat them well. So they showed concern to the extent regarding of bir al-walidain, that even extent regarding those who are loved ones to your parents, then also you honor and treat them well. So a general concern, a person that al-bir al-walidain is considered to be of those virtuous acts. So I mentioned the first one regarding that is as-salah, that between the person and his Lord, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the salat is between the person and his Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, so that's an act of devotion that between the person and his Lord, as-salat. Then the second that is mentioned, which is bir al-walidain, that a person being good towards his parents. Then it's of others, other than the anbiya, of those people that you should treat well, treat them in the best of way, that's your parents. So of those that you should, regarding how you function with others, and how you conduct and behave towards others, then of the first of those in line should be our parents. So it shows regarding that al-bir al-walidain. That a couple of weeks ago, taking a bus, and I was waiting at a bus stop in Brixton, and over here, a conversation with a young lady, and she was speaking to someone about her mother, and how she was behaving, Allah Mustan. That someone in the bus, you understand, when I went in the bus, because the bus, like, it stopped for a few minutes, so the driver can understand the door was open, that they are waiting, they're a bit ahead of time, so they have to wait somewhat to wait a few minutes before so then the bus kind of opened the door, so everyone could hear what she was saying. She was outside, but everyone inside could hear what she was saying about her parents. And the thing that she was saying, for Allah Mustan, that you feel shy to say that's your parents. Can you fear if you're saying about those things about your parents? Can you imagine what you may say about a person who's tried to, to correct you, and that's your parents, your mother? She's talking about her mother in particular. To the extent when that one lady in the bus, like an older lady, she was said, she's talking about her mother. You understand? She was saying, Allah Mustan, but it shows regarding that respect for parents. You understand? And for some people, it's lost. It is lost. But overall concern Islam, that put importance regarding bir al-walidain. So the person is somewhat that always to honor their parents, try to treat them in the best of way. So then they mentioned regarding concern, then also Ibn Lakin, alayhi rahmatullahi ta'ala, that he mentioned regarding of the benefit of hadith regarding the part that concerns, they mentioned that jawaz tikrar as-su'al, that the questioner was asking multiple questions. So they said one question after another. So he asked a question, then after receiving an answer, he asked another question on the same topic. So multiple questions even on the same topic. That and also it shows regarding that also for a person who's the one being questioned, also responding to those questions and being patient even with the multiple questions. So having that patience. To give clarity for the person who is willing to know, even though the questions are somewhat those multiple questions, but they're somewhat related to the same topic. So it shows that the one giving responses, that for them to have patience and also to listen to the question and then respond after accordingly. Also it shows regarding rifq al-alim, that a person who's the alim was sabr, that a person who's the alim should have rifq, that to be gentle with the people, and also of sabr on the question they may ask. So it said repeated question. So still to show sabr and patience in the question that the people may have, and try to give the people try to answer the people question accordingly. Also the hadith shows of actions in general, that salat is said to be the peak of the most beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So amongst the acts, righteous deeds, of the peak of those would be as-salat. The peak of those would be the salat. So as we know concern the salat, that is considered to be of the pillars of Islam, is considered to be the second pillar of Islam. So we have the first of the pillars of Islam, which is Shahada of La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah, which is matter regarding al-i'tiqad. Then after, of way of things of, actions with the limb, physical actions, then salat is next in line as the pillar of Islam. So the Prophet of Islam kind of mentioned that with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is considered to be the most beloved act. The most beloved act, that is the salat. And we mentioned that the salat is something like a marker. Salat becomes like a marker to mean a distinguishing of those things that distinguish regard the Muslim from a non-Muslim. Nam, as to be, so as we know regarding that, so the person who's a Muslim, then it's in that he should pray. Nam, and something I find that confusion sometimes occurs, that especially because that people not understanding the importance of salah. And those kind of situations, they come to the forefront regarding the importance of salat and a siyam and a prayer center, having that identity for a Muslim, not just as we say today, the person who say, Assalamu alaikum Muslim. Assalamu alaikum Muslim. That's all he knows of Islam, Assalamu alaikum. So you might find a person who, like you have a case in the week, someone came and said that a person died, passed away, and due to the circumstance that the person may be buried as a non-Muslim in a Christian fashion. But the person, so then acts as so you might find out that those cases where that a person says that if you were to ask concerning these cases, that especially in case a person took the Shahada 10 years ago, yes, okay, who knows this Muslim, this person? No one knows them in the masjid. No one have never seen them pray. No one have known them to fast. But when the person died, then people want the person to be what? Buried as a Muslim. So it's to know that if a person take the Shahada, or even a person who was, as I said, born from a Muslim family, their parents are non-Muslim, or a person take the Shahada, but that person, we said to know that it is not known, established that they ever prayed or fast. Is not known that of recent that person have prayed or fast. No one knows them regarding them coming to the masjid. The person lives next door to the masjid, close to the masjid, but still no one know of that person coming to the masjid or of a record of the person praying. But upon death, people want that person, so said that people want that person to be buried in the masjid or by the Muslim. But not known that the person prayed, no record of the person fasting, then what do you want the Muslim to do? And I will find that that become of the challenge that we find today. We said a lot of cases become emotional, where because I know you, or I think I know you, I know that you took your Shahada, you understand? But when you look into the matter, you understand? There's cases that, there's cases where people have said a person have died, and because of their circumstance, they suppose they have at one point took their Shahada, but when they have, after dying, then a person who is the next of kin would be their parent. And if that family are non-Muslim, then we have to, so normal would be to go and sit to the family and see what can be worked out. So the normal procedure would be sit to the family and see what can be worked out regarding, because some family is Muslim, we understand he's Muslim, and you understand is how can we assist? That's some family, because that person Islam is established with them and known with them, and they don't want to interfere. But because then you have a next case where that the family know the person to be Muslim, but they still want to do things their way. They still want to do things their way. They want to feel a part, but they want to go. That's not. So you have case where that as for the Muslim, they want to go to the church. Yeah, you can go to the church, but as for his body, he cannot go into the church. So we have those negotiation. You understand? So if you want to go to the church, that we want to take his body into the church, but he's not Muslim. Yes. So why taking him into the church?
So who will have like a rights over the body in that case?
Now, as I said, in those cases, the next of kin in most of the cases would be
The wife.
I said, sometimes not even a wife, unless you're married legally. So it'll be the parents, the family. You understand? So unless you are married legally, you understand, then according to the system, then the next of kin would be the parents or that family member. With me? So you have those cases. So you have cases that have been where there's a wife, Muslimah, and the family, you understand, but you have one person always rocking the chair. You understand? But everyone can know the system. And the one who's rocking the chair, they're not even in the country. You with me? So you have different circumstances. You have to negotiate. Something I find that one member is like the one that is, you understand, throwing the spanner in the wheel. So something you have that. Then you have cases where that the family said that so I have cases that have gone to the family and said, no, from what you're claiming, I know my son, my child. I know my child. I don't know him to be any Muslim. Even go with me to the church. You understand? So you're saying that he's supposed to be with you, but from I'm close to him, he lives with me, or spend a lot of time with me. But what you're claiming, that I don't see nothing of Muslim with him. I don't know him to be Muslim. But because yes, he took his Shahada maybe 20 years ago, 10 years ago, but then not much changed. You understand? So when death comes, then you have that tug and war between, you understand, at times, if the person's situation is not clear, within those people who are within your close environment, your family. So those things, sometimes you find, those cases where some, the family seat has, we don't know him to be Muslim, and based upon that, we're going to bury him our way. Yeah, they're going to bury him their way. Because it's that the person, they don't see him as a Muslim. And they haven't seen anything of Islam from him. And even a Muslim may just know of the person, you give salam. And you say, well, I've taken your Shahada a while back. Other than that, when was the last of the person you saw the person in the masjid? I don't know. Do you know of him praying? I don't know. And because we don't know, then husnul dhan. Husnul dhan, then we have to have, you understand? So, is those things, but sometimes you have those cases. So husnul dhan, that if you don't know, then leave it. Don't make a big fuss. So you have those cases. You have those that apply something to a person who, not just we said people who are reverts, converts, but also you find those cases that in people who are Muslim background. That a child after 12 have nothing to do with Islam all after that. When a child finished high school and left the house, they had nothing to do with Islam, even inside the house. They're living in your house and they have nothing to do with Islam. They don't pray, they don't fast. They don't wear, you understand? Even though they don't wear hijab.
So what does one do in an instance like in a situation like that?
Fattaqullah. Fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and be truthful. Now, sometimes a person, you understand, so be truthful to yourself and to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you know the situation, then go to the master and explain and then make them make the decision. Just explain the situation. My child, yes, Muhammad, Fatima, but they live with me and they do not pray, they do not fast, they go clubbing or whatever they do. You understand? But the essence of it is there's no salat, there's no fasting. You understand? They just living their life. And then the Imam can decide. And tell them what and say as to what to be done next.
So what if the person is practicing, revert, let's say practicing, but the parents don't care, and they say, no, I'm going to bury him as Christian or whatever they are. Do we, as Muslims, have any? What do we do in that?
No, I'm saying in those cases, I'm saying, yeah, you understand, we have had those cases. You understand that a person that is established, they're Muslim, but the family somewhat they want to do things their way, and because said legally, they're the next of kin. You understand? It's upon them. So they'll still do their thing. After you plead with them, they're still going to do their thing. They said, okay, the least that we do that, we still have Salat al-Ghaib. So you have Salat al-Ghaib, that is done. So in most cases, just wait until the burial take place from their side, then just do the Salat al-Ghaib.
You don't go to...
Not a masjid, it can be done anywhere.
You don't go to where the person buried and go and do...
And it can be done in the masjid, wherever it can be done. You understand? And because if the day that they're going to do it, you understand, so normal with them is, you understand, they'll bury them in their burial ground, which would be a Christian burial ground. You understand? So, you understand, avoid all of that type of thing and just do it in a place that is more suitable for the Muslim. But yes, they're still deserving, if the Islam been confirmed, then they're still deserving some rights of Islam. If they can't give them the full, then give them the least. As the case of Najashi, when he died, the Prophet Islam, that he was informed by Jibril alayhi salam that he has passed away. The Prophet Islam, he stood up and prayed for him as he had accepted Islam.
Yeah, Sheikh, I'm sorry for asking again. But you know, sometimes you might have someone in your household who says they're Muslim and only prays when you force them to pray. But apart from that, they wouldn't be praying.
Not that the person that even if it's even said with a child or a person that you live with that if you tell them to pray, they'll pray. They're praying. That's still salah. That's still salah established. You understand? Yes, it's something you have to tell them. They understand as it no. So as to maintain their Islam and encouraging of good and forbidding of evil, then you tell them. Then you do that, and they will do it. Alhamdulillah. At least they are praying.
Well, so if you don't tell them,
They could be neglectful, so you understand, then you have to just be on their case. You have to say, just be the one to know that, you understand, I have to remind them. But if I remind them, they'll do it, then remind them. Then be the one to remind them, that no, that's of encouraging of good and forbidding of evil. You understand? So, because at the end of the day, you want them to die upon Islam. You understand? So even maybe minimal, but still something better than nothing. Now, next, then also from the hadith he mentioned that concerning the virtue of jihad. Also the hadith should concern the virtue of jihad. So that's not that jihad fi sabilillah, it is something of the virtuous action in Islam, and no one should know that people should not try to undermine jihad and to belittle jihad. So we said that, and also if the ahkam of jihad that are there, that are present, then jihad, khalas, is jihad. Regarding the people may say about jihad. Now, so if the rules on jihad that they applies in this situation, khalas, then the rule that should be applied. Now, and not people try to, you understand, to downplay jihad in any way or fashion. And at times, in some of the causes of jihad, you might find ikhtilaf between the ulama. In some of the cases regarding is this jihad or not, you might find like a discussion between some of the ulama, but the thing is not to downplay jihad. Not to downplay a jihad fi sabilillah against the enemies of Islam. So generally concerned, the hadith showed regarding the virtue of these three actions. It showed the virtue of these three actions. So as we mentioned, the su'al, the question that people ask is to get an answer so you can act according to that answer. So asking of questions, especially regarding those things which are virtues in Islam. So when a person receives an answer, so as to act according to the answer. And also regarding the actions of their different levels and degrees. Some more virtuous than others. So good deeds also of different degrees, as in this case concerning that of those of as the Prophet has mentioned, al-iman bid wa sab'una shu'ba, that iman is of different degrees. That iman is of different degrees. So a'laha qawlu la ilaha illallah, that the peak of it is la ilaha illallah. Then on the issue of salat, jihad, bir al-walidain, all of these are part of the pinnacle of the top end of al-iman. And also from this it shows regarding the Muslim that that a Muslim try to have high standards. So other things to know of virtuous deeds. What are the top deeds? And try to aim for the top deeds to do. So you can say a Muslim can somewhat try to identify those are said to be the most virtuous action, so as he can involve himself in doing of those things. So this act, this matter, also these actions that I mentioned. So mention those three: as-salat, bir al-walidain, goodness towards the parents, and the third is jihad fi sabilillah. That's that the person Muslim fulfill it and also encourage it on others. You understand? So the Muslim also, in the Muslim, carry these acts and carry them out personally, and also to encourage and to remind others of also carrying out and doing of these acts. So overall, I mentioned regarding the hadith showed regarding the virtue of salat and carrying out salat in its earliest time. Also the virtue of al-bir al-walidain, and also a jihad fi sabilillah, and also the actions that they of different degrees, and also the alim that to exercise al-rifq, the alim to be patient with the people. نعم شيخ تفضل.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
Okay, Sheikh, you know, having good actions with your parents. You know, most of us in this class here are coming from like a revert background. So most of our parents are like non-Muslim. You know, in the case of like if one of our parents die, and you know the hadith about we should not attend non-Muslim funerals and stuff like that. What is our stance there? What do you say is our hell?
If the person was family members, even his parents that have passed away, after their death, then everything have somewhat come to an end. So you can make istighfar for them and the likes.
They can't.
Hey, so yes, you understand. So their affairs now have gone to the next life.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So al-bir walidain, yes, that with some Muslim, with a Muslim family that extend after death, we can make istighfar for them. But with a non-Muslim, it's somewhat a different situation. With the ahkam regarding their death is different. Regarding so it can somewhat come to an end upon their death. Regarding what you can do for them, you can still do certain things, but it's not like the case of a Muslim.
We cannot.
So attend their funeral. You understand? This person, for example, if they're buried, you can still contribute to their burial, but for you to attend, and depending on the different cultures or the practice that goes with the person's death, you understand? You can't attend some of those things. Hey, so going to the church, and the different culture, different other things that they do.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, with this, we'll step in the church and nothing like that.
But you have other things that I'm saying. You have other culture, have different things. You have different cultures regarding when a person dies. You have multiple actions that are done, different things that are done. Hey, that's in those. Yeah, times we said different culture, have different things. Some says not upon their death. You understand? You are somewhat restricted. There's some restrictions as to what you can participate in regarding from the time that they have passed away. They are fair now with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So to the minimum you can you understand, maybe contribute to the funeral for their burial. But as for, you understand, there's restrictions. Clear? What's also mentioned? Hey, so last week we had mentioned, before I think in this lesson, regarding concerning?
Hadith.
Is it Hadith lesson?
No, you said
What?
you have to bring 10 hadith.
10 Hadith?
That's Saturday, no?
Is it Saturday or this one?
This one.
Is it,
It's Saturday.
is it Saturday?
Yeah.
Is it Saturday lesson or this lesson?
I don't.
No, it's this lesson.
Is this lesson, yeah?
What was the lesson? What was the homework?
You should know.
You should know what you remember. That means you didn't do it. You don't remember, sir? You can't do what you don't remember.
I remember, but I didn't do it. I didn't write it.
Huh? You remember? They did
I
it?
wasn't here last Friday.
Sheikh, can you give us one more week?
You said we got to bring 10.
There's some books in tafsir.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Come remember that? I think the last time we discussed that in the hadith we mentioned concerning the matter regarding ilm tafsir, ulum tafsir or Quran, that we had discussed that. So also the thing was to bring some books in tafsir.
Can you give us
That's your homework.
one more week, inshallah?
I wrote it.
So next week,
You got them?
or just say, if you can, at least 5. If you can't go, say between 5, the maximum 10. At least 5, the maximum 10. Yeah, you did some? You can?
There's no searching now. Look at that. Look at this guy.
You're searching now?
He's searching
Or-
now. He's searching now. He's searching. Tell us something. He's searching, huh? He's
Oh, he's
trying to
searching
search
now?
now.
Or what's,
I'm not searching now.
oh, you say your nose. He's going with his nose.
No, but
Okay.
that's probably that. No, that's
Oh, yeah,
probably
nose.
from. That's probably.
Okay, what's your nose says?
No, but that's probably from last time when we done it. We done something similar last time, so he
We done something
probably
similar last time?
That's his old notes from last time. Don't jingle us. We're 10 steps ahead of you, brother.
That means it will be fresh then. That means if it's something you did before, it should be fresh.
Yeah, exactly.
Should be known.
Exactly.
You should have it as well then.
Okay, what
I'm
you
not
have though?
looking
Okay,
at my
what
phone.
you have?
I'm
What
not
you
looking at
have?
my phone. You are. She's looking back from last time. Go on, anyway.
We asked the question before.
Yeah.
And then that means should be fresh. You should
No, it's not that.
not that.
Long time.
Long time.
Ah.
I did it the first week as well.
And no one did it the first.
Okay, so the question was that to list 10 books in tafsir.
Tafsir al-Manar.
Al-Manar,
Rashid Rida.
Rashid Rida, okay. Okay, that's one. So that one, so tafsir, that's more contemporary,
Fatah al-Qadr by Muhammad al-Shawkani.
Fath al-Qadir by Shawkani. Aywa, Jade. That's 2.
Hassan al-Tawil.
Muhasin al-Tahwil.
Tafsir
Qasimi,
Qasimi.
a somewhat contemporary, okay. Qasimi,
Al-Din Qasimi.
Qasimi. Jamaluddin al-Qasimi. Aywa, that's 3, okay. You're going into it. The ones you mentioned, most people won't know these ones. So even some tullab may even be familiar with these ones. Hey, good. MashaAllah.
Tafsir al-Sa'adi.
Tafsir Sa'adi.
Rahman al-Sa'adi.
Hey, that's common. Aywa. That's 4.
Tabari.
Tafsir Tabari. Ibn Jarir al-Tabari.
Tafsir al-Qurtubi.
Qurtubi. That's how many? Qurtubi, how much is that? 6 or 7? 7, okay, you're going.
Tafsir al-Thalabi.
Thalabi.
By al-Thalabi.
Thalabi. You have Thalabi. What Thalabi? Aywa.
Tafsir al-Muqatil.
Muqatil. Tafsir al-Muqatil.
Ibn Sulaiman.
Aywa. Tafsir al-Muqatil ibn Sulaiman. That's one of the first tafsir that have been written that have reached us complete. Even though he discussed some ayat, but not everything. But one of the early ones to have reached us. When he died, the other one is that 150. A 150. A 158. So that's one of the early ones to have reached us. He said that not every ayat, so not every verse that he commented on, but is like a tafsir that have reached us, but in print, but need a proper printing for the book. Okay, Jade. So yeah, from old to, and that's it. That's 10.
Tafsir al-Ashur, Tafsir al-Tahir,
Tanwir. Ibn Ashur. So also contemporary. Tunisi. That considered to be so a Tunisi. Aywa. Nukatul Uyun. Nukatul Uyun by Marwardi. Okay, good. The one that you have mentioned, that if you go to certain even Tullab, that list, they may have a few of them, not all. And some of them may not even be aware of some of those tafsir. Might go to certain Tullab, they may not be aware of some of those tafsir. Okay, so 10. Hey, Jade. Hey, so as I mentioned, that of the things we... Okay, you want to go? Mafati al-Ghaib. Man? Razi. Razi, then they'll tell you not to read that one. They'll tell you not to read that one at all. Tafsir al-Razi, Mafati al-Ghaib. It goes on for people like, students who are advanced. So you have books of tafsir. So you find that, the books of tafsir are different. I will mention before that they have different manahij, but also of the author of the book itself, that in books of tafsir they also put in it their own comment concern, their own aqidah. So you find a lot of books of tafsir, some of the books of tafsir that are written by, for example, that they are either Asha'ira or Maturidiyya or Mu'tazila. So you have like Al-Jamaykee, that if tafsir is in the language, very rich in the language, very good, but wouldn't be recommended except for a student who is advanced. You understand? So you have those type, but most of those ones are either Asha'ira or so the Aqidah of Ta'wil of Sifat would be a common thing in those books of tafsir that you have mentioned, most of those ones. Most of the ones you have mentioned will be of tafsir that you have a Ta'wil of Sifat. You understand? So like in contemporary time, like we have like when the Ottomans was in charge for many years, many centuries. So in this as a state, that the books that they recognize, the main book that will be studied with them would be Zamakhshari, Kashaf. We said he's Mu'tazili. Then you find that of the Asha'ira and the Maturidiyya who came after, who tried to somewhat purify his book, if you want to say that word. So you find that An-Nafasi, then Al-Baydawi, then Abu Su'ud, all these ones are like Ash'ari, Maturidi. But these are the ones that were for many years, even today, the ones that are taught in Islamic institutions. But most of those ones are Asha'ira and also Maturidiyya, but those are the ones that for many centuries were the main books that were used. Like Ibn Kathir was more recent. Like Ibn Kathir, as one used in the Institute of Islamic Studies, that's more recent. And that's more concerning. That now with the Salafis would be Ibn Kathir, Al-Baghawi, are the two main ones that are used. Ibn Kathir, Al-Baghawi, because the Tabari is very large. Yes, and you have some who have tried to condense it, just as Ibn Kathir, but Ibn Kathir as even Zad al-Masir by Ibn Jawzi, but also that one more used sometimes by some, but those are the ones that we said, the ones of the Asha'ira, which are most, and Jalalain of Suyuti and Mahalli, those are the common ones that are used. But those are mainly Asha'ira, Maturidi schools. Aywa. So So inshallah ta'ala, we end and continue next week. Wabillahi ta'ala tawfiq.